Hello, everyone. My name is JD Calderon, and this is Indie Comics Explained yet again. I brought on another fantastic group of independent comic book creators. So please hit like, hit subscribe, share out the video. Let everybody know we're here. You know, normal people, or I should say abnormal people, are not here today. So we got the pinch hitter. What's up, Tom?
So I go from not even on the card to to co-host, like
right.
in 2 minutes.
Like that. In like 2 seconds. But I fixed the card. Except on Facebook. It wouldn't let me do it on Facebook.
Okay. All right.
Fix it on the other one.
I guess I'm here. It's fine. Tom Hutchison, Big Dog Inc. The writer, publisher, art director, all of those things.
All right, cool. I should probably leave you off the card more often because most times you're just like, I'm here. You know. All right. We got Mr. Dudley. What's up, Mark?
What up, though? How y'all doing today?
We're good, man. How you doing?
You know, make it happen. You know, as much as I can, you know, I'll get down.
Mm-hmm. I hear you, brother. I hear you. All right. We also got Mr. Wynn.
What's up? Marvin Wynn, writer, creator of The Edge from Comicsburg.
All right, cool.
Is it still echo? Am I good?
Fred.
Yeah, gonna be.
Nah, you're muted, Fred.
My name is Fred Schwartz. I'm the writer-creator of Fisticuffs and the owner-operator Schwartz Art. Glad to be here.
Cool. And who's your co-pilot on there?
My co-pilot is Parker. And actually, that was my question today is how to keep a dog quiet during a podcast.
Benadryl.
You have to pick them up and hug them.
There you go. Pick them up and hug. I mean, you know, I'm Gen X. We had a different way of dealing with it. But,
oh, for sure, definitely, for sure.
A very different way of dealing with it. So yeah, we're very, very non-PC. He's really cute. You can't do that. He's adorable. Look at
There's something Gen X is still something called mangy mutt.
He is not mangy.
He's not a mangy mutt. That's how we dealt with it, man. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
We were savages, man. We're savages. What do you want?
Yeah, we're barely domesticated ourselves. So, you know. All right, gentlemen, we've all heard, we've all seen it. Let's talk business, right? Let's talk business. So every week we come on here, and it's funny. Daphne was asked me earlier. She was like, hold on for a second. All right. Marvin, I muted you, so we don't have the echo. But Daphne asked me, she was like, so what's the difference between what you're asking today and what you normally ask? Because you always talk about business on the show, right? And I was just like, I don't know, right? Because all of us have concerns about the business that we're doing, right? And we'll look at it differently. So I got a real simple question. How do you save money in the smallest ways, right? Because they're macro ways to try to save money and they're micro ways to try to save money. And the micro ways do add up, right? So in a small way, how do you try to save cash, right? So
that's where everybody says AI.
Yeah. Okay, that's the end of this show. All right. So, Fred, you're up.
Thank you for starting with the least experienced person in the business aspect with the business question.
Hold on, Fred. Stop. How long have you been doing Kickstarters?
Like a year and a half.
You're no longer the new guy. Sorry.
Oh, stop it.
You're on your fourth book?
I'm about to be, yeah. It'll be fourth book, about to be on my fourth Kickstarter. So, because I did 1 and 2 together. So
there you go. There's somebody out there right now doing their first one.
Okay, fine. So I guess maybe, and this is actually is going to be part of my question, which I'm going to get to later. But the thing that I try to do is I don't overextend myself with orders. I try to order, I still am new to the Kickstarter, and my cycle is now like when I do the Kickstarter, I try to hit like local shows and cons and shops, and I do like a little tour and get the book out and stuff. And I'm still trying to like navigate that, right? Because I see people, you know, online when they order books and they do campaigns not much larger than mine, and they order a ton of inventory. And I wonder, like, what are they going to do with that? Because like I wonder how they move it, and that's actually part of my question today is going to be about how you expand and how you grow and how you justify that. But I think what it is now is like so far I've managed to kind of like keep my inventory needs just like a hair above what I need each Kickstarter. I haven't, you know, gone into. I mean, I'm like a very you know, I'm a big shiny new toy guy. So like when I see something that like other people do on Kickstarter, I want to do it with my characters right away.
Right,
so
right.
I guess maybe the best answer I have, and it's kind of a general answer because I know you want specific and stuff, but it has been restraint and trying to not do and edit myself too. And like see that like, okay, you know, now, like you said, I'm on my 4th book and stuff. You know, putting stickers up at this point, the way I was doing them is like a really bad idea because now I'm into like 10 different designs and things like that, and they don't justify the means. So I guess it's just, my answer is probably just finding like the little things that don't work, cutting them and trying to keep things like simple and, you know, not overextend my means. So I guess that's my answer.
Okay, that's fair enough.
And that's also with production too. Like, I mean, I am starting to do like more covers per, you know, Kickstarter and stuff. And I see a lot of people, you know, doing a ton of stuff like that. And I would love to. There are a ton of artists that I would love to work with, and always an idea out there, but editing that too. So.
All right, cool. You know, I mean, Fred, do you play with that dog at all during the day?
JD. Okay, so for
So that's a no. That's a no, by the way.
No, that is not a no. All day today, he was lying in bed and he would not play. I'm like, Parker, get up. I got a show later. Let's play. For an hour before the show started, we were playing bowling. Throwing the ball against the wall, bouncing it. He's chasing it. I thought I burned up all his energy. And the second I show anybody else a little bit of attention, he just starts moaning. He finds that reserve. Like he's like Hulk Hogan hulking up. And he's like, all of a sudden, he's got his energy again. And he's ready to start whining and crying. I don't have any other friends. I spend all my time with that dog. And it's a shame that he's not exhausted by the time I start this shit. So
Okay.
Thanks, Parker. Way to make me look like, you know, a neglectful father.
You know.
Neglectful
All
dog.
right, fair enough. Marvin, what are your thoughts?
You gotta unhook him.
Marvin, get him out back in here.
Is it echoing? Yeah. No.
No,
Is
you
it
got-
echoing?
Good, man.
It sounds better. Yeah, good.
yeah,
Sounds
you
good.
got it.
All right, cool. What was the question? No, I'm just kidding. So ways to save money. So I mean, I think that a lot of the times is since Thomas Burr is a collective, we do a lot of stuff at the same time. So you can print books at the same time. That saves you money. Doing conventions as a collective saves a lot of money on table costs and travel and things like that, which allows us to roll money back into the business. So as much stuff as you can try to do as a unit, that helps. If you're not a unit, I think that cutting some things out that you don't really need. So Fred was asking about, well, how do you justify printing a lot of books? That's conventions, and doing as many conventions or book shows or things as you can helps you move some of that stock, which also can save you money because if you don't have an empty room to hold all those books in, then you're having to get a storage unit, which is going to up your cost again.
Right.
So the goal is to maximize your revenue by making sure that those units that you purchase are moving, because the more books you buy, the much money you save on it. So your costs come down when you buy more books. So I'm actually on the website right now. So you go 300 books, it's $3.69 a unit. But if you go to 500, it goes down to $2.56. So you're saving money in that case. The more you get, the more you'll save. But now you have to figure out a way, how am I moving these books? And that's why, like, online store, whatever you're doing through retail, and then conventions is how you're going to move those books and not have these just sitting around.
What website is that, if you don't mind me asking, Marvin?
Your website.
My website?
Yes.
Which website is it?
website where you have your books on, so you can sell them. You don't have an online store on your website?
No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the quote, the price
on
you gave.
Chin Print. Quinn Print?
Quinn?
Yeah.
They're not that expensive.
Well, this is for trade.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. I thought you were talking about a 32-page book or something.
Oh no! It's much cheaper or in that stead. But yeah, but it's also Kickstarter. So if you're doing Kickstarters every year, you'll have that stock ready to go so you don't have to order books from them too. So I mean, if it's possible and you have the money, big orders are the best way to go. And then you just piece them down as you go and try not to have storage.
All right, that's cool. Mark, before we get to you, I hear someone driving. Jay, you there?
I me, buddy.
Yes. What's up, guys? I'm the main G mutt in this place, okay? All right? Parker doesn't take that title from me. I'm the main G mutt, all right?
I would love to see you and Parker do a show together. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Oh, man. We'd have a great time. He'd do all the running, I do all the sitting. That'd be a great show. Is there an echo because of me? Is everything okay there or no? It's I can't really touch.
No, it was a
right?
Marvin echo, but I
Yeah.
think it's more or less
Oh,
handled.
is it Marvin echo?
It's me again.
But it's
Okay,
It's,
okay.
it's okay now though.
But he figured it out. So Jay, did you hear the question?
Because I don't know how long service is going to keep up with me. I'm still on my
Gotcha.
way
Yeah, I
back
know
from
you-
Connecticut to Rifficon.
Real quick, how was the show?
It was a great show. It's a great show. It's not HeroCon level like Marvin is, but it was moving. There was flow between the two rooms. The B room was really small, and it was a traffic generator only because Jim Lee was the biggest name in that room. So it had people going. The other room had all the other celebs and stuff like that. They had a really nice identifiable section between small press vendors. They just didn't have it separated between card vendors, t-shirt vendor groups. You know, they were interspersed between the vendor tables, and then they had hallway tables. It was awesome. It was awesome. The only bad thing is that there's nothing to do outside of the show. So if you're there for the whole weekend, you're pretty much locked into the hotel because there's a prison a few miles away from the Wauhegan Sun. There's not really shops and malls, but the hotel that the casino is a part of is a mall unto itself. You're not doing a lot of walking at Terrificon. You'll get your steps in, but awesome show, man. Everybody was jazzed. Everyone in small press that I talked to said they had made money. The small press tables, they were all affordable. They were about $3 and change. Everyone I spoke to said they had either made their money by the end of day on Friday, early Saturday. No complaints at all from anyone that I spoke to at the event.
All right, cool. Did you have that $20,000 to get that cover from Jim Lee?
There's a wait list.
And his wife is there.
Yeah. And you know what's funny though? A lot of the artists, old time guys, were all approachable. There was no line to see Arthur Adams, but he was booked as a Friday, right? But he was there doing his work, but you can go over there and you could talk to him. I remember seeing were for the guy who did the Tick that was on Jerry Seinfeld. What's his name?
Oh, I know.
Warburton.
Patrick Warburton. There we go. Patrick Warburton. Chris Claremont had a big line. But Walt Simonson had a big line for a little while. But pretty much everybody else was lineless. Kieran Dreyer, Timothy Zahn, who wrote the Star Wars stuff. Arthur Adams had no line. Those are the ones off the top of my head I can think of. Simon Bisley had no line.
Yes.
Oh, the cat. Some of the cast from Peacemaker was there. They had no line. People were going right on up to them. The only interaction I had was with the guy who played Shao Kahn in Mortal Kombat. He was the bad guy from the Cobra movie.
In the new Mortal Kombat?
No, I know you're talking about. I know exactly
the
what you're
90s.
talking about.
Oh.
Yeah.
He do a lot of
all I
Star
remember
Trek.
was
He
the
do a
bad
bunch
guy
of
from
stuff.
Cobra.
Yeah, I remember the guy you know about. Yeah.
Yeah. So we had a great interaction with him. Something I want to talk about with Tom. He brought up, always having an experience at conventions, right, to try to make us a draw. One of the guys I spoke to at the convention has a horror book, and there's a prominent coffee shop that his horror story takes place in. The guy set up a coffee shop at the convention, was selling coffees with his books. He was a draw. He made money. It was a great experience, a great way to interact with the fans and to get his book in people's hands. Even the coffee cups that he was selling it.
Sorry about that, Joe. Go ahead.
Yeah, dude, but he was killing it. I'm happy for him. Question that you have, how do you
Who's that robot talking?
Yep. He went around the wrong bend. He's around. He's just going through a tunnel.
Am I out? I think I'm out.
Now you're back in. Oh, he's out again.
All right. How do you save money in the macro? You don't make comic books. No.
Okay.
I'm done.
He's so clever. He's so clever.
Uh-huh. All right. All right. I think Jay gave us his report. So, Mark, what are your thoughts?
Well,
because it was
we in
going on.
we're in a couple different industries though, so that helps us out a lot. So we in the printed paper RPG industry. So we do a podcast, live play podcast, right? So we do our dice. We buy dice real cheap, and we found a vendor that sells us dice real cheap. So what we do, we take and these guys right here, we brand them with our live play podcast. Number one, so that gives us a lot of cash. And then also, we got a gumball machine full of single dice that gives us a lot of cash, and then the parents hate us because we also got a gumball machine full of balls for the kids. So that gives us a lot of cash.
Is it gumballs or like the rubber balls?
No, just rubber balls. Kids love them, man. Parents can't stand us, man. And the thing is, the key though ultimately is that we do webcomics first.
Mm-hmm.
Before we hit a Kickstarter, whatever, we putting that mug on the web. So we already got a ready-made fan base when it come time to sell them books. People are already looking for them because they read the story on the web. They just want the physical copy from us. So that saves us a lot of money. And besides that, we have a really good relationship with a lot of the school district printers around here, to be honest to you. Because what happens is that we do a lot of educational stuff, right? So they really like us, right? So what happened is that, let's say you got a school district and they got let's say they got a graphic design program or whatever, right? They'll be like, hey, can we print your books so that we can teach these kids how to print books? So that's how we save a lot of money. Relationships, man, really, that's what it is.
That's like going to the barber school for your haircut.
Yeah. But guess what, buddy?
I hope they cut your books right.
I'll put it to you like this: they cut them excellently.
Good.
So maybe you might want to make you some relationships, Tom.
They've been good relationships. Yeah, and if you go to the barber shop, you gotta make sure the teacher cuts your hair.
Right? Yeah. See, the kids, man. The thing is this: my whole deal, as you know, as the Jay knows, I'm about education, man. I'm about keeping this thing going, and looking inward ain't gonna keep it going, brother. You want to look outward, and we already made our bones. So what's the problem with making sure that these youngsters can't learn from us to be better people or better creators later on?
Yeah, We have to be better people ourselves before we can teach them.
Well, again, my thing is this, bro. I can't help you with that, cuz.
So that's the tough part. Better people.
It's just because, like, the argument where people are always like, oh, the young guys, they don't want to read comics and this and that and this and this, because, you know, I believe that a lot of comic guys are unapproachable, especially when it comes to teaching other young people stuff, super unapproachable. We got to work on that.
True.
Yeah.
Tom, what are your thoughts? What do you save money, if ever?
You know, this kind of goes back to me when I was working at a comic book shop back in the late 90s, and you know, we had gone through the boom and we were going through the bust, and the store owner, I had worked for him for many years, almost 7 or 8 years, and he came to me one time and he was like, Tom, we got to figure out how to spend less money in here. And I was like, I hate everything you just said, because what you should be telling me is, how do we make more money? How do we get more people in here? How do we sell more shit versus how do we par back what's going on? Now, to some degree, yes, there's you can par back in some elements. Back in the 90s, if you were buying 100 copies of something, you could buy 90, and you know, across all these titles, suddenly you're going to save some money, of course. But I hate the idea of, like, how do we scale back? How do we like save money by skimping on paper or doing this or that? And I'm like, God damn, that all that just sounds terrible to me. Yeah. But there are two things that I've done that go in that regard, but for different reasons than, like, just purely like, oh God, I gotta make things cheaper. The first one is we just moved our printing to China, guys. It's not what I wanted to do. It's not as convenient as publishing or printing rather in the United States. We had a decent printer for many years, and they were just in Indiana, and they would do it, and we'd have our stuff within about a month. Now it takes about 2 months to get it. But the reality is we've been publishing this stuff through China for a year, almost 2 years at least. I don't think anyone's noticed that there's a quality change, and if anything, to be perfectly honest, the quality's gone up. The paper is better. It's a better product for a monumentally cheaper price. Sure. So the only thing that I'm paying for in this is that I got to add an extra month onto my printing cycle, because it's got to be printed there and then shipped over, and that they just put it on a boat, and you hope that it doesn't crash into Godzilla on the way, and that it shows up in time. But we've never had tariff issues. We've never had we've never had customs issues. Like, it's all been like, it's going to take about 2 months, and it shows up in 2 months. So that saved us a ton of money. That's just the reality of it. Right. If there was a United States printer that would be like, well, we can do that for a at least comparable price, I would listen, because I would rather have it printed here. But they do a great job, and I have no complaints. The only other thing that we do, or that I do, because it's a decision I have to make, is when we do our variant covers, it's who's doing the variant covers, because there's guys out there that I can be like, well, I want to use this guy, but he's going to cost me $1,000, but I could get 4 people to do covers for that same amount as well. So I'm getting more for the same amount of money, but it's different people. It's guys that don't necessarily have the hard following. So I'm in a situation where I'm basically trying to build these guys. Like, hey, BDI people, I like this guy, and I think you need to like this guy, and here's the art, and go do it. And over the years, we've done that. Shannon Mayer, Natalie Sanders, those guys worked with us first, and now they've gone on to become big names, in the industry. So I think I'm good at spotting talent, but there is the reality that the industry, within the context of variant covers, has blinders on for who they want. They want J. Scott Campbell. They want Art Germ. They want, these handful of a dozen guys. And those are the dudes that people go racing for. And if you've got them on your project, you have a fair chance to sell to those fan bases. But they're going to cost you a fortune. Sure. So, over time, we've just sort of mixed and matched. It's like, instead of having all 4 of those big names that we've worked with, we might have one, and then like 4 of our guys that we kind of find and and introduce to our audience. But in doing that, it saves us some money on the upfront aspect. We still have to print the book, but the upfront aspect changes because instead of $4,000, it's now $1,000 for one and $400 for 3 more. So it just kind of changes that dynamic. And I'd love to keep working with all of those names that we've worked with in the past, but just financially, it's brutal. Even with the savings in printing, there's probably a balance there that I could be like, yeah, we've saved all of this, so we could kind of shove it back into all those dudes if we wanted to. But at the same time, I love art, so I'm always looking for new people to come in and bring new styles and new concepts and thoughts and ideas of the characters. So to me, that's half the fun of comics, is not being weighed down by just the same thing again and again and again, artistically. So it's been plus and minus with that sort of balance that we're trying to make with art, but the bottom line is it does save us money in the long run.
Sure.
Can I ask a couple follow-up questions, Tom?
No.
Great. Thank you for your time. Now, on the shipping from China, can you tell me like about how much you save, like in a percentage sense? And don't you wind up spending more in shipping, or is that not? You don't. Okay. No,
not remotely. So if I were to print, just as an example, the last print run that I just did with China, if I were to have printed that assuming I used my printer. Now there may be other cheaper printers, but using my previous printer, it would have cost me 5 times the amount to print here at that printer than it cost me
5 times
in China. Yeah. It's a significant change. And again, that's with that printer. There may be others that are cheaper. So if a printer is watching in the United States and you want to pitch to me, hit me up. I'm open to it, because it's not even a matter of like a 1-to-1 match of price. If you can get even close to any of that, I would rather print here and give you the business.
Mike, I have one more question, because you touched on something, and I've always wondered this. When you're doing like a series, right, and say you're doing like a 7-issue miniseries, and you're on like a book 5 or 6 or so, and you reach out you spend the money on like a big name, like an Art Germ, for example, or whoever it is. Do you find that translates into people discovering your series like retroactively? Like, do they go back and read the other issues, or they just pick up the Art Germ one because they like Art Germ?
It's going to vary. I know people have found Legend of Oz because of Shannon Mayer's cover, like his cover that he did, his first ever cover in comics. Because what people do is, as they're like, oh, Shannon Mayer, like what else has he done? And they just follow the trail, right? And they go all the way back to, oh, Shannon Mayer's first ever cover was Legend of Oz #7, and everybody wants it. And the price went from like $30 to $400 because it's such a low print run book. Now, whether or not they read the book, I can't tell you. But we had people wanting the book. The book went into all kinds of top 10 lists and all kinds of stuff with that. So you hope that even if they don't read that particular issue, you hope that they go, okay, but what is this? and they go find a trade or whatever, and they try and get into it. But the reality is that most of the people that are buying art covers are buying it for the art. They're buying it for the artist. They don't really care what's on the inside. I would say that's probably at least 75% true. That they really, not that they won't bother to look, but it's just not what they're there for. They're there for the Scott Campbell cover. They're there for the Ryan Otley cover. That's what they want. They want that thing because they're they're also in the vibe of the collector / value aspect of it. Speculation part of it. Yeah. So it's not even about just purely like, oh, I would like that in my collection. It's like, ooh, that's like a hot book. So I want to get on that book and follow those trends. So you can take advantage of some of that if you can get a big name that's sort of popping and has a fan base and following you. But I will say this, there is no guarantee that those fans will follow to you, because just because they like what they're doing on Wonder Woman does not mean they are going to give a damn about what they're doing on Fisticuffs, because that's just polar opposite IP and concepts and so on. So I've seen people hire big artists and stumble with it. They were happy with the piece. Like they're like, oh my God, I got this guy to do a thing. Yeah. Like, holy shit, I got Joe Chiodo to draw, paint Dorothy Gale. But you can stumble, it can miss. So I think what you would want to do is really judge your brand and your book, whatever it is, and then find somebody who's been doing that in that vein for a period of time, versus saying like, well, I'm doing a Western and I'm going to go hire the guy who draws Spider-Man. That's not necessarily a good crossover.
Gotcha. Thank you.
You know, also, man, one thing that we learned, because we working on the pitch to a reality TV competition show, right? So for comic artists, for comic creators, just not the artists or whatever, right?
Really?
We learned, this is one of the things about, I'm glad that we do the webcomic stuff. We learned, man, that worldwide, that webcomic industry is eclipsing every other comic industry, eclipsing. So it's like, man, you know, we got in there not knowing, which was cool, you know. And like I said, what's cool about it is that people, they reading the stuff, and like we'll do webcomics in black and white, right? Usually. Then when we do the physical piece, it's a color piece, so it's a whole nother product. You know what I'm saying? So then people are just buying the stuff, and what happens at that, it's like, it's funny because like we only ever really did that one Kickstarter that we did, right? But because we also do webcomics and stuff, we were able to we still turning that Kickstarter. We did the Kickstarter like 10, 12 years ago. We still turn that money over.
Okay.
You know, we put it in something, then boom, it kicks that money back out. We put it back in something, kicks that money. That loot is still turning over in our system. You know what I'm saying? Because of the fact that we decided to do the webcomic stuff first and then bundle it all as volumes later. This was after we did the Kickstarter, though, we decided.
I'm going to try not to ask a billion questions today, but I just have one question, because you keep saying webcomic, and I'm sorry, JD, I am new and I don't know. When you say webcomic, you're saying how it's, well, that's what I'm asking is like, how is that? You're talking about something separate from like,
yes, I'm talking about
doing like a digital comic on like global comic.
Yep,
you know,
exactly.
How is a webcomic different? It's like you host it on your own website?
No, you can host it on your own website if you want to. We just host it on the thing that the webcomic for us that's cool. It's free because it was free for people to read because it's a black and white thing. Right. But so when we collect it in color, and then people get a whole new product, and so they can't wait to get that whole new product. You know, because then they can have a physical product to collect if they're collectors. You know what I'm saying?
But do you do the webcomic in the same way you would do like a regular comic?
Yeah, like, you got multiple ways of doing it. You can do it as a strip, you can do it as a vertical comic, or you can do it as pages. It depends on how you want to do it.
That's what I was asking, because I've heard about these like vertical ones, and I was wondering if like webcomic just means those, or if webcomic means
no. You
like
can
a
do
book
it
on
in
global
ways. It depends on. It just depends on your audience, because what happens is that we do pages, right? Too. Yeah. And then the pages actually scroll down too. So it's like I do one page or whatever. So that works out fine too. You know what I mean? Okay. But see, the thing is that that's only because where they do the vertical panel, that's for cell phones for the most part.
Okay.
Yeah, you end up with the endless scroll.
Yep. You end up with the endless scroll.
Yeah.
And people find those, you said, when you say they're blowing up all over the world, people find those on like a platform or?
What I mean is this, you getting eyes on your stuff, right? Yeah. And as you getting eyes on your stuff and you collect it back as a color book, you be shocked when people come to cons, they be like, oh, I saw that online. I know it was in color. Bye.
Cool.
Yeah. And it's, you know, I was just talking to Daphne and she's putting her stuff up on webcomics and it seems it's starting to redirect.
Right, exactly.
Some of her campaigns. So she's seeing a little bit of an influx from that. Right. But, you know, it's one of those things where it's going to take time like anything else.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. We've been doing it for a while. We've been doing it for a while, so we got a name there, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I mean, what was the question again? I'm only joking. We're
still on your question, sir.
I know. That's why I'm saying I'm only joking. All right. On the micro level, because one of the things that I think a lot of us forget about, right, is that, you know, we charge shipping on these platforms, and some people just focus on the actual shipping charge. They don't focus on boxes. They don't focus on the boring stuff, you know, boxes, tape. Tape is expensive, especially if you go, I used to work for this place. If you go into Staples and you just buy a 3-pack, and it's like 20-something bucks for those 3 little rolls of tape, right? Whereas if you go on Uline or if you go on even Amazon, you can order like 72 rolls of tape for like 30.
Exactly.
Amazon is cheap.
Yeah. Same thing with Uline. Boxes, if you can afford to buy them in bulk, buy them in bulk. If you can order 500 at a time and be able to store them, right? Order them, because then you might be able to get those cheaper. Right. Same thing with bags and boards. I bag and board all my comics when I get them in, so I don't buy 100 at a time. I'm usually buying 1,000 at a time. Right. So I'm trying to get them as cheap as possible, and that's what I mean. And on the micro, and like you're just saying, oh well, you're saving a few cents here, you're saving a few cents here. It will it does add up. Yeah, it's gonna add up at the end, especially if you do like I said, I do a lot of campaigns. If I could save a quarter per package, over the course of a year, I might save $800 or $900. I might save $1,200. So it can be important, and that's money I just give back to the artist anyway.
Right.
So it's not even like it goes into my pocket; it just goes back out another way. The other thing Tom was mentioning was finding these newer talents, and you can get them at a reasonable price. You understand? So, and you work with them and you grow with them. And, sometimes, I found that some of the guys that I've worked with in the past, I contact them. And even though they're working with bigger companies and they're working on bigger campaigns or whatever, they're very they're like, yeah, man, I'll get it to you. I'll get it to you ASAP. Don't worry about it. You know what I mean? Because I've worked with them early on. And I've given them business throughout the years. You understand? It's not a big amount of business, but I'm there with them, and I promote their work. So they know I do a lot of campaigns, so their stuff is always being seen by people. So they're willing to work with me and be cool about it. So yeah. So has anybody got anything else? No? All right. Okay, we're going home. No. All right, Tom, you got a question?
So I don't know how to exactly phrase this. The business of the comics has long been more than just comics. Going back to days of specifically when Stan Lee came around, that dude was like, yeah, we make comics, but I'm going to make sure that Spider-Man is on the Macy's parade, and I'm going to make sure that these characters are licensed out and moved around, and goofy cartoons and all kinds of crap. So the reality of now, not to say that comics like that stuff didn't sell back in the day, but it was a different world too. But at that time, they weren't just resting on their laurels and saying, well, we're making comics and we're done. It was always like, what else can we do with this stuff? What other avenues of either public exposure or sales can we do with this stuff? So the question is are you just making comics, or what's your plan to legitimately put eyes on your product in larger scale ways? Like we just talked about putting it online and webcomics, of course, but the general public has no clue who we are. And so how are you gonna put your characters in a local parade? Like make a float for Comicsburg and put them in a local parade, Marvin? What can we do to, or what do you have in mind, or your thought process of what is your next level of sort of promotion for what you do? Or are you just making comics?
Marvin, you're up.
Well, since you called me out specifically,
I did 100%. Yes, because I don't know why you're not down at that zombie mall doing stuff all day long, and
Well, I think the zombies can take over the mall pretty soon because it's pretty much empty. But we've done these shows a lot, and you know that I am the guy that tries to dip my toe in everything. So we do stuff with Wham Lab. We've got like these logos. I mean, we've got the action figure and stuff coming. I mean, we've done the root beer, we've done the hot sauce, and I actually just talked with the manufacturer about doing gummies. So, I mean, whatever's out there, and I can figure out a way how to move it. I'm going to try and see what happens.
See that, but that's what I'm saying. For you, gummies make sense because that's the edge pill, right? That's smart. That's very, very smart. That's going beyond hot sauce. I don't give a shit about anybody that sells hot sauce. Sorry, Lori Calcaterra. I don't care about hot sauce. But that makes 100% sense. And that's what I'm talking about. That's a real keyed in element of what you do with your book that you can translate to another product that still can go outwards into the larger, public sense. That's great.
And
I'm sorry, Tom.
I have to is to try to create a spear, and then you create a spear that connects to that spear.
The
next to the other side of that
Venn
spear.
diagram.
You're just continuously creating spears because, as anyone who's done a comic convention knows, that people who go to comic conventions don't like comics.
Yeah.
So what else are we offering that person? Because we want to try to interact with every person that comes past our table.
Yeah.
They say they don't read comics. Do you like hot sauce? Do you like candy? Do you like this? Do you like that? I'm getting you in somewhere. You're not walking away from me without me selling you something. You're getting something from me. I don't care what it is. You're buying something. Nobody gets away.
Right.
And Tom, I got to push back there. I buy Lori's hot sauce in bulk. I wait for it.
No, I'm not saying nobody buys it.
Amazing.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that at all. Yeah, no. It's just for me. It's just like I see people. It's like when I go to Comic Cons and I see people selling cupcakes. Like, what are we doing? Like, let's tie this in a little more somehow. So that's Bloomin' Onions. Like, if you had a way to sell a Bloomin' Onion, I understand what you're doing. Yes,
we've got a minifigure. He's adorable. And Marvin, we got to talk after the show. I'd love to hear about the flavor of your hot sauce because I am a hot sauce guy, man.
It's sure. I mean, we can talk about it right now. It's it's habanero with medium heat.
I love habanero.
Really, you get a hit when it hits your tongue, but it's all flavor after that.
Nice.
I would pay money to see Fred at a show frying Bloomin' Onions.
I feel like the comic audience would love them. Like that's a handy snack to be walking around a con with.
Yeah.
Get nice Bloomin' Onion grease and then thumb through like some old Stan Lee, like 1960s comics.
There you go.
I solved that problem right away because when I had the hot sauce on the table, I had potato sticks for people to dip into and I solved it right away. And I had handy wipes on the table. So every time someone would one, I say, "Oh, here's a wipe. Wipe your hands. Now you can touch." And so, I mean, you have to like figure out a way how to solve a problem. That I created a problem, then I solved the problem.
Right.
So, but as much the more stuff you have available, the easier it is to go make a sale of whatever it is. And then once you make that hot sauce sale, then you say, "Oh, would you like to try the comic also?" So, I mean,
I am never. I'm going to put this out into the world right now. I've already said I will never ever make a bookmark. Never ever will I make a bookmark. In fact, I've given Lori Calcaterra permission to make bootleg Big Dog Ink bookmarks. And she keeps saying that she's going to do it, but she hasn't done it. I will never make bookmarks, and I will never have hot sauce. That's it. Never.
He's just like drawing lines in the sand.
Well,
like,
maybe
Yeah. And if you want to stand on my side of the line, you gotta cross those thresholds.
See, you're messing up, Tom, because you could license them out to Lori.
Well, that's what I said. That's what I've told her. Like, because she told me, you can put the bear in your zombie comics. So I'm like, okay, you can make bootleg Big Dog bookmarks. So we're trading things around. Yeah.
Okay. So I mean, I'm just saying, you can.
That's the way around my never is let someone else do it.
Right.
Yeah, you can license her the critter hot sauce.
That's right.
Right.
There you go. Critter sauce. We just don't know where it comes from. Mark.
And we in different industries anyway, right? So what we do, I'm with the Marvin. I make sure that nobody ever can leave without nothing. So what I do a lot of, like I said, all my Palladium work. I do prints on that stuff because I do a lot of mech stuff. So that stuff draws a lot of people, right? And education is our other major deliverable. So we brand so at every con pretty much we do like an hour and a half panel called How to Create Comics and Manga. And we are comprehensive with writing, We're comprehensive with, how to set up the page and what the different perspectives are for, stuff like that, right? And no one's teaching that stuff to your kids. These kids eat it up at the end of the day. But we brand it as an Imagine Those workshop, how to create comics and manga, right? So what happens a lot of times is the kids come back to our table and boom, they buy the stuff. You know what I mean? For the most part. It's just, again, like you said, taking and branding those. So again, making sure the brand is on there. Make sure Imagine Those workshop is on whatever it is we're selling. And that brings it back to our table, we find, especially the educational stuff, because they want to see that we're following the guidelines that we gave them.
Right.
Right.
Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Fred, what are your thoughts?
So, yeah, I have lots of ideas for this kind of stuff, but unfortunately, I don't think they're practical yet, so I don't necessarily invest in them, right? When I was first learning about the idea of Kickstarter and somebody was telling me about how it's like you put a comic out, but then like, fun stuff with it, like stickers and things, then you can get like really creative with it. I really went with the creative idea with it. Like I looked at the Fisticuffs. If you guys have seen the Fisticuffs #1 regular cover, it's Nick in a car accident upside down, and it's like just an orgy of information of like who he is, of like all the stuff like flipping upside down with him. So it's like beer bottles and like a little bit of pills and cigarettes, and then it's like he has like comics and porn and condoms and all the shit that a guy like him would have and stuff. So I wanted to make all of that with like Fisticuffs specific merch. If you guys
Fisticuff condoms.
I want it. Let me tell you something. I thought the Fisticuffs condom would have been awesome. If there's anything to make you second guess having sex and the possibility of having a pregnancy, it is Nick's face staring you before that last moment. I'd be like, I don't want one of these. I'm going to put it away for now. But like I remember, if any of you guys remember, this is going way back to the like X-Men Pizza Hut promotion, where they had like the VHS and the, with the special thing on the beginning, and they had like the little mini comics and stuff. I wanted to do that. I would have made like a mini comic for the character that he was liking, and I was going to make like a mini porno because he had a porno in there. So I was going to do like funny porno, like furries and things like that and all that shit. And then I realized, holy shit, I am adding thousands of dollars of expense and commissions to get art made for a comic that nobody has ever heard of before. Like nobody's going to care yet. So Tom, I'm ready, man. Like when that day comes, like put me in, coach. I'll come up with like fun ideas, like blooming onion. Like if I can tie into whoever said, I think William said that earlier about the blooming onion. If I can be the guy that's got a blooming onion sponsorship, the way Macho Man tied to Slim Jim, fuck yeah, I would do that.
Fred, though, man, is this right? Look, at the end of the day, like let's say you got Big Dog Inc. So that's your brand, dude. You know what I'm saying? So you want to big up the brand as much as you can. Because if you big up the brand, then people going to want to go see what BDI is doing. It's like, oh, that's BDI. I've seen that brand before. You know what I mean? That way you don't have to hit every separate little comic in there. You know what I mean? So you want to big up your brand. That's why you brand, stuff with whatever. This is my brand, this is whatever. But, it's funny, Marvin, that you have brought up, the gummies, because I'm a big aficionado of the old underground comics like our Crumb and those guys, and they sold that stuff at head shops, buddy. That's why that stuff was super popular. Right. And so, me personally, for my comic, I'm trying to get into the head shops.
That's extra income, and that's going to be like what my question is going to be about is that outside sphere. What's the outside sphere look like for you as far as business?
Well, again, even though it's still about like I said, I just brought up that history because it still is about the brand. And so, when anybody asks me, well, why in head shops? I'm like, because historically that's where they were. You know what I'm saying?
All right, cool. I don't have anything planned, so I don't know.
That is 100% what I expected for you to say. 100%.
Yeah, man, why you putting your head on the chopping block like that, dog?
Well, I mean, I have the typical stuff planned. I'm like going into the dark market, doing that sort of thing.
Dan, I got a question.
What?
Again, what are we all doing?
Oh, wait, Mark, hold on. Keep that thought.
Keep the thought.
Keep the thought. Just hold on. Tom hasn't answered his own question.
Oh yeah.
So I was trying to move us all past the idea of just merch, unless it's something like Marvin had, where he's got a piece of merch that can actually filter out into other places, and it could be successful even without them knowing that it's attached to a comic book. I mean, that's the reality of that kind of a thing. But for me, I mean, there's a couple of things that I'm trying to do. I mean, we've done merch. I have action figures and that kind of stuff, and all that's really good, and it can change the perception of your brand and your company of like, oh, they're not just making comics, like they make this and stuff too, which is great. One of the things is we talked about this on Rosario's show a couple weeks back, was your setup at a con, especially with what like Marvin's talking about, is like people who go to Comic Cons don't like comics, but if you can create an experience at your booth that isn't just like, hey, I put down a table and I put down a tablecloth and the comics are sitting on the table, like build something within that con, even a small con, that makes you the big fish in that small pond. Like you make yourself completely undeniable, that it doesn't matter when someone walks by or from what direction, they're gonna be like, what the fuck is this? As opposed to, oh, here's another guy with comics and another guy with comics and another guy with hot sauce. Like, it's just, make you do something. And then they brought up what Dan Mendoza was doing. He modified his booth for his last con. And I was like, yeah, that's the right idea. That's the direction that I want to go in. But then the other thing is, we talked about this too, is we're actively pushing towards getting our stuff into TV or movies. And it's somehow that's still all happening. I still don't know how that hasn't collapsed yet, but it's still all happening. So that's sort of like the long goal for like 2030. It's our 20-year anniversary, is to either have it or to have it so locked in that we can like announce something like, oh, this character's or this actor's playing somebody. I want it locked in so we have an announcement or a product by 2030. Right. But then the again, to get outside the box, I had this idea that I might try this winter, where I don't know how many people have been to Vegas before, but they have an immense, I mean, there's a lot of malls there, but there's one specific immense mall where you have all the malls, like all the stores are filled up, but then they have down the middle all these kiosks just lining the middle of the entire mall. And I was like, what if I went and spent a month in Vegas with a kiosk selling Penny for Your Soul books, which is my Las Vegas Heaven versus Hell book, selling Penny for Your Soul to Las Vegas customers with a cosplay angel hanging around that we could sell pictures of her and that kind of stuff too. So that's something that's kind of been in the back of my head, is again, taking what we're doing and putting it somewhere that a completely different audience that doesn't know who the hell we are is going to be like, what are you doing? But again, just like Marvin has, it's tied into the product. Like I wouldn't be there selling Critter or whatever. Like the whole point is I'm selling this comic book. It's about Las Vegas and angels and devil girls and go. So that's something that I'm looking into. I don't know if I'm going to do it this winter, but I might go look into it this winter and kind of really do like a scouting session to kind of get a sense of what might be possible. So that's some of the things that are in my mind.
I can ask something for you, Tom. Go to the AVN convention with that.
Yeah, I thought about that too. I've thought about some of the adult conventions with that kind of thing.
I'll tell you, that's a genius idea, but at the AVN, that thing will go nuclear.
Yeah, it's going to cost a fortune to be in there, but potentially, I know some people that have done that but they have more like specific higher sexuality stuff books than what Penny for Your Soul is.
I don't think that you need that higher sexuality stuff based on that. I just think that at the end of the day, it's scintillating enough.
I agree. And that is something, there's one here in Chicago that they do every year. So yeah, no, that's exactly what I'm talking about, is where can we take this brand and put it somewhere that isn't the comic book fan? And
we start,
yeah.
We do short movies too. Again, we Maximus Workshop is more of a production company that happens to do comics, and then we got a manga arm that just does manga, whatever, right? Oil manga. So we do short movie. We're working on finishing up our second one right now. We got to start our third one in the summer. That's a little vampire short we're about to do. So I mean, it's all about the brand. That's our Maximus Workshop, right? So
Cool. All right, real quick. All right, we'll do this guy first. Fred. Fred. Come on.
Guys, fisticuffs. We have 2 weeks left on late pledges. If you haven't heard yet, fisticuffs is the story of a functional drunk whose comfortable life derails when a one-night stand has deadly consequences. It's got the dark sense of humor of The Boys with the explosive action of Invincible and the kind of personal storytelling that you would get in a Martin Scorsese movie. Now, I know you're saying, like, Martin Scorsese's never fucked around with, like, giant blooming onions, and he hasn't yet. But it's not in, like, that sense. It's more in the sense of, you know, like I said, we go into the absurd with The Boys, but it's grounded in the fact that this deals with, like, deeply personal drama, addiction, dysfunction, and a lot of other stuff. But in this particular issue, as we've been alluding to, it deals with our sloppy drunk of a hero as he finds himself in a desperate situation, and he comes face to face with a deviant soul in the form of a giant blooming onion. It's one of our most action-packed things. I got to tell you, I got the final colored pages last night, and they're gorgeous. I can't wait to get this off to the letter and get this in your hand. So yeah, please, if you guys haven't yet, give it a look. We got the first 5 pages at the bottom there if you guys want to give it a preview. And since we're talking about web comics and things of that nature, if you guys wanted to give the series a try, book 1 is free on Global Comics, and book 2, I think, is behind a paywall. So give it a shot, test drive it. You know, it's a book that deals with addiction, but it's also highly addictive on its own. So give it a look and see if it's up your alley. 2 weeks left to go.
Very nice. Very nice.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. All right. Let's go with The Edge. Marvin, what are we looking at? Oh, hold on. I have to unplug it.
The Edge. It's in late pledges now. I have, like, is there a time limit on that? I looked on there. I didn't see a time limit. Is there?
No.
You can set the time limit if you want. Otherwise, it just goes
Forever.
so far as I know. Yeah.
Okay. So volume 3 of The Edge, God's Thunder. This is the story of the organization God's Thunder, who hates everyone who has superpowers, sending Kyrad, the 8-foot hulking monster, and his giant hammer to go and crush everything. So funded on July 31st, still in late pledges. So if anyone is interested, you can still jump on, get you some books. So you got volume 1, volume 2, volume 3. You've got the hot sauce. You've got coffee. Because no one left behind. So
No,
something for everyone.
I leave the hot sauce people behind.
And hopefully, once we're ready for volume 4, we'll actually have an announcement coming through the Substack on Monday at 1 p.m. Announcing volume 4. So we'll have the title. And, we're going to do it like they do it, and when they announce comic book movies, we'll have the title up, and you'll get to see it. And then, like, a little short about what the story's going to be about.
All right.
So you got hot sauce, you got coffee. Couldn't get the root beer in there. I'm still having a challenge on the best way to ship root beer to, like, because we have people who back from, like, Shanghai, and I'm trying to figure out, how do I send root beer to
Right.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
For sure.
Yeah, that's a tough one. All right, very nice. So do you know? You're gonna keep it open for the next 6 months, or are you gonna keep it open till later?
I mean, I don't plan on doing anything else until probably February, March. So maybe I'll close it out then when I launch the action figure Kickstarter.
Cool. All right. Very nice. Very nice. But so it's gonna ship. So order a book. All right. All right. Now let's go with Imaginos Workshop.
We'll do something a little different this time, though. I'm I'm going to talk about some of the books we got as a group of guys, right? So we started out with Imaginos Plus. That's what we did our first Kickstarter on. That's our anthology. Basically, we throw stuff at the wall and see what sticks, and it's been doing pretty well for the last couple of years. Our main comics are the extras, which is a story about a girls' school that happens to jump dimensions. And so all the girls are from different dimensions, and they living and having fun and whatnot. So basically, it's a fantasy slice of life. Then we got Judah Fist, Seven Deaths of the Yobi, which is about this guy Amaru Jones, who is got turned into a cyborg in our time, alien cyborg in our time. And in the future, he finds out he has 3 young nieces and nephews left. And so he's trying to protect them from the people who turned him to a cyborg. And then there's like a 50,000-year conspiracy in the background. We also got Seeds of Doubt. Now, Seeds of Doubt is about these. It's a fantasy about this world where you got these 4 clans that run the world, right? And basically, the other 3 clans conspired against another clan to make them feel less than and make them feel like they didn't matter. When in fact, they're the ones who should have been in charge because they have compassion. And the rest of them don't. Then finally we got, so we also, I think for comics, what else we got in there? I think we got Beyond Peak. Beyond Peak is actually a basketball story about some young Nigerian guys who are hoping to come over here and make it to the NBA. And it's a manga. Right. And finally we got Variety of Famiglia. So it's basically in sunny Venice, California, an Italian visitor, desperate for help, soon finds himself involved in the shady and questionable business of a certain family's company. They are his only hope as he seeks to solve his particular predicament. The heir of this underground kingdom, Vincenzo Variety, takes no issue with disrupting this visitor's life, nor the lives of others, and all the while wearing his best suit and smug attitude. So that's what that's some of the stuff we got over here at Imaginos Workshop for you guys. So you can read the web comics for free. If you just go to our site here and leave us some comments because we want to know what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong.
All right, cool. Oh, hold on. There was another one you sent me. This one.
I got everything in there. We good.
Okay, cool.
This is our manga arm, Shining Otaku.
Okay.
Shining Otaku, our buddy Irvin Johnson. I knew them guys when they was first starting out. They really impressed me and whatnot. So over time, we built a relationship with them, and to where we helped them put their stuff out. We art direct for them. We edit for them. The main thing we're putting out right now through them is our shonen manga. Or if I don't say shonen, I'll say it's more like our Shonen Jump. It's called Origami Super Punch, right? And again, it's got right now we got a whole bunch of different types of stories in there. Shonen stories, we have seinen stories, isekai, stuff like that in there, right? And so we're going to be branching out into more genre stuff. But this was our first shot at the bow in terms of trying to educate people in original English language manga.
All right, cool. Yeah. Nice. Do you guys do any Kickstarters with these yet?
Not yet. Speaking of which, I talked to you about Judah Fist and that Kickstarter, right? That I'm going to be doing in September. There's a little bit more news to that. I'm talking to Source Point Press right now. They're kind of interested in Judah Fist. So, I got to do some things. So that Kickstarter is definitely going to be going.
All right. Very nice. Very nice. Cool. Looking forward to it.
Man, hey, I'm looking forward to doing it.
Because I don't read like online comics. I need physical paper.
My thinking is, hey dude, I gotta go with the times, bro.
I know. I had a webcomic for the longest time too.
Right. I got to go with the times.
I'm just saying, I got preferences as far as
But yeah, absolutely. Young guys, that's what the young guys say.
Yeah. Currently, all right, so I'll pull up my campaign real quick. So this is a country night in New York City, 1 through 4 in Oswald Chronicle. It's about a young lady. Her name is Anna. She is a knight, and she's in a lot of trouble, as you can see in this cover. She is basically a knight, and she is trying to save her people, and she's going to New York City to try to raise an army and bring them back so they can rescue her people. And these are just her trials and travails as she gets there. So, and then, like I said, issues 1 through 4, we're already funded. We got another 21 days, another 21 days. So go check it out.
Kick butt.
Trying. All right. Mark, you had a question.
Again, in the spirit of and not so much again, and this, like I said, you guys know I'm big on education. Anybody who knows me know I'm big on education in our medium, right? But I'm also big on growing the market, right? So what are we doing? What is everybody doing? What is everybody doing to grow the market beyond just the 18 to 40, which is probably 18 to 56, 60 year crowd that's buying all the comics right now? What are we doing to grow the market?
That's fair. Fred, you're up.
Are you talking about me personally or the comics industry as a whole?
Well, I mean, it's like, okay, so Fred, all right, so you put a comic out, right?
I did.
What do you think that you're doing to bring in more different types of readers than usually reads comics? What are you doing, to make young people want to get into comics, stuff like that? You know what I mean?
Okay. Well, in this particular series, I try to stay away from the young people. I mean, I'm a square, and it's 18 plus, so I shoo them youngins away. I even card them sometimes. So, but in terms of like bringing people in, what I tried to do, and I don't know if this is a good answer because I think we're talking more business and stuff, but what I tried to do was it was more in the art side and try to provide something that looked different than I think a lot of other comics did. Like I tried to really lean into, my background, before I did this, I went to school and learned, learned film, and, that's what I was trained in. So I tried to make everything like feel really like cinematic and stuff. I mean, I in hindsight, I don't know if like artists, I don't know. My scripts were very, I'm sure frustrating at a first glance, it's very like wide shot this, close shot this, and I'm really like whatever. But the good news is like, the artist I had, thank God. And again, I'm sorry to only be talking about the one project, but it's the only like real frame of reference I have. Sure. But fortunately, the artist I had, has a cinematic eye and style too. And I described him as like a naughty Jim Lee because he does kind of like the big explosive action stuff really well, but he does everything in a really kind of cool punk aesthetic. So working with him and then like developing the color style that we eventually got to where I think it kind of looks like I always describe it as like a Dario Argento movie, like something like Suspiria or something like that, really deep colors and atmospheres and stuff. So I think what we did was kind of create something that kind of looked different and almost felt like, dare I say, like a 70s style gritty film, or even some of the early 90s indie film stuff. So, I kind of leaned into that with the content and stuff. As like an artist now, and as I start to plan my next moves, because again, I'm maybe not the best example. Like I am committed to Fisticuffs 1 through 7. I am going to get it done and then do the trade, and then will be my next project. And after that, I plan to like kind of stay in the same realm, but like diversify a bit. The next story I have that I plan to do is like adjacent to, but like thematically, it's the same, but very different style and stuff. That one I will be happy to sell to young people and stuff. And you got
the other guys too, right?
Yeah, so, and then the other. I'm
sorry. Well, I'm saying is, man, really, that you still got 18 plus people reading the book, right? And then you got people who want to learn how to get into comics in that 18 plus realm. So that's really what I'm kind of asking you. What are we doing to bring the people who can read your book into wanting to do comics, or you know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think in my infant, in my lack of experience or whatever, like I think it's trying to like sell it as like, a different style of whatever. And then in the larger sense, with my future projects, like I said, the next one I'm talking about, and then the one after that I would like to do is kind of like, I mean, it's like literally a kid's story and stuff. So I like to try, my goal is to kind of like set the goalposts and kind of do kind of like, stuff that I can sell to people that, younger people that come to my table and people that are in that wheelhouse and stuff, and kind of like still be authentic to both of them and stuff.
Right,
and then kind of do stuff in between. So I guess my answer, if it's not a great answer, is just trying to
it's a great answer.
what I do.
I think it's a great answer, to be honest with you. Again, because you got to get in where you fit in. I understand that for sure.
Thank you.
All right, Marvin, what do you think?
Am I still echoing?
Yeah. I keep muting you.
You damn muter. I mean, Mark pretty much just stole my question right from under me, but it's okay. So I can do it in twofold. So I think there's two parts to that. So you asked about the youngsters. So you're talking Gen Y. Gen Y to me, I feel like is a lot easier because we've done talks with cyber schools, and then later this year we're doing one in a library system, and then in the art school. And you've got two different kind of people there. So you have people who are interested in coming into the comic field, and then you have people who are interested in how everything works.
Right. Exactly.
So they know the art part, they don't know the business part, or they know something about something, but they don't know what it takes to, or the cost of making a comic.
Right.
So going backwards, so when I say that there's two bit, so you've missed a whole entire generation, millennials missed comics.
Yep.
Because they came in when comics were leaving the grocery stores, and the 5 and dimes were disappearing. So those spinner racks didn't exist anymore. So then you were at the point where the only place to get a comic was a comic shop. And then they are in the tail end of kind of the resurgence of MCU and DC and all that kind of stuff. So then they're pulled back in, and now they're like, okay, so where do you go to find comics at? Because one of the mistakes I feel like that Marvel made was not telling people to go to a comic shop after watching those movies.
Right.
So you missed out on millennials. So now the millennials are interested again. So we've got twofold. So we've got adults, and now we've got Gen Z, and they're both part of the system that we're trying to pull in by giving them the pep talk on how to create the comic without telling them the dissuading part that Jay was talking about before when he said, how do you save money? You don't make comics. So I think there's two pieces to that, and you have to approach it differently because most of your Gen Z read manga. So there's certain things that they're looking for. We found that out when we did our cyber school talk, that they don't like American comics. They like the manga because it's straight action. They even said that we don't like backgrounds. Like they said the backgrounds were too complicated on American comics. So when we did our talk, they gravitated more to my book than other books because my book is the closest to a manga book, where it's a lot of action, not a lot of jabbering or a lot of standing around and talking. So I think that what we're doing is kind of like taking the Comicsburg brand into those systems and trying to figure out who these people are and what they want from us.
Right. All right. Yeah.
All right, cool.
Good.
Tom, what do you think?
Manga kids can't handle American comics because they can't handle art style. In a very similar way that we complain when somebody's on a book for 5 issues and it switches over to some other guy that we're like, I don't like him as much. You go into manga and you watch what they're reading. It all looks the same, guys.
Yeah.
This shit all looks the same. Now, there's different versions of manga, like art styles and stuff. But if you like this art style, there is plenty that exists within this art style that you can just be like, here's 500 different books, and it all looks the same. So they don't have to. There's no art style change. There's design change, clothes and stuff, but the art style. But when you go into American comics, it is like a wall of oddity because it's all over the place. So that's one of the hard parts of translating manga kids into American comics. I've seen that. I've watched kids talk about comics at cons, and they're blown away by color. First of all, they're like, even though there's anime, which is the same stuff, they're like, why is this in color? I don't need the color. Like you just said, it's all action and it's 90s. It's the 90s comics is manga. So if you want to attract that audience, you got to have that type of a product. As for what I'm doing to what is going on?
That's a phone. Go ahead. Don't worry.
What am I doing? I don't do much. This will be weird. It's not my job to find the people that want to make stuff. I will encourage them when they show interest. I've done panels with, hey, like you said, like we're talking about making comics and how do you do it and so on. I do those kind of panels. I do portfolio reviews at my booth. But they have to show step one to me first, because there's too many that just want to draw garbage manga. They bought the How to Draw Manga book at the art store, and they're not really putting in the effort to reach even a manga level style of art. But their mom says that they're great, and so
your mom always said it.
Yeah, exactly. So I will definitely talk to those kids, and I'll give them whatever I can in the context of like, work on this, look at this. I'm happy to do it. But there's so many of the ones that are trying to get in aren't really trying to get in. They're being encouraged to do something artistically, but they don't really want to do it as
sure, absolutely,
work, as business, as whatever. To them, it's purely just their art. And so I think it really, for me, it takes sort of the next step is I need to see them talking to me about, well, I do art, but I'm learning how to do panel designs and pages and so on. Like, take the next step besides just drawing like a character on paper. So when I see that, that's when I get happy. I'm like, oh, look, there's a manga kid, but he's literally like drawing panels now. Now I can talk about storytelling and layouts and think about your word balloons and continuity and stuff. I can talk to him. But I want them to come to me or to somebody and make that step of like, hey, I need some help in this next arena, versus me like racing out to libraries to talk to kids or whatever. Because listen, I know I'm the asshole on this show and on many other shows, so I'm just going to continue to be the asshole. Too many of them are just being pushed into it by family members or whatever, because family is like, oh, you're so great at drawing your anime kids or whatever. And I'm like, that's great. I have no problem with that. But it's sort of like, we watch all these TV shows and stuff where parents have kids and they're like, oh, I want to play the violin. And then 3 weeks later, they don't care about the violin anymore. Right. I'm going to play football, and they get knocked out. I'm not playing football anymore. So a lot of those kids are just doing art for the fun of art, which is great. Go to art classes, do it. But for me, my real step is like when I see a kid take a step into actual comics making, that's when I'm like, I'm in. Now I can really help you with what you're talking about. And so I guess I shouldn't say I don't do anything, but I focus what I do. Sure. And I try when I do comic panels at cons and we talk about making comics and how do you do it. I do tell them, like, if you have more questions, come back to the booth.
Right, exactly.
And again, that's another thing. If they come to the booth, I know they're interested. But if there's 20 people in that room, I would bet one would show up to the booth, and they're going to get that attention.
Right.
All right, cool. Well, Mark, this is a question I struggle with often because when Daphne and I would do San Diego, we did it, like I said, we did it for 8 or 9 years running, and we had cultivated a following of kids who would come over to the table to buy the Oswald books. And at the time, they weren't comic books. They were prose, right? So it's just words, right? And every year, they would come running over, and they would be like, what's new? And we would point them to the new book, and they'd hand us the $10. I'd sign it. They'd go running off. Some of the kids would buy 4 or 5 copies because they were buying for friends, right? Who couldn't make it to the show. And here's the other thing that I found interesting. It was a really good mix of boys and girls, right? Maybe a little bit heavier with girls, maybe like 70%, or like 15, like 13, 14-year-olds, you know, and then, you know, and like I said, about 30% were probably boys. So, you know, the thing about, you know, like, you know, them wanting action, depends on which market you're hitting.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
So it depends. If you can hit, you know, both markets, that's great, but that's hard, right? But sometimes you got to pick one, or just, you know, just lean into the one that's leaning into you, right?
Right.
You know? And then that's the one you just lean into, because, like I said, I had more young girls reading Oswald than I had, you know, young boys, but I still had some young boys. So I mean, I just think it's one of those things, and I mean, it's always been in the back of my mind to do a little bit more community outreach. I'm just super busy, you know.
Sure.
I did a library thing a few months ago, which was a lot of fun.
Right.
But it's like getting back into that, talking to young people, getting out there, because I think like with something like Oswald is a little bit more approachable. You know, right. I can get in with young people that look and say, "Oh, it's a mouse" or whatever. You know, and then it gets scary later. Yeah, and then but you know, it's something I can definitely reach out to. So it's something I struggle with, but it's something, it's like on the to-do list, you know. But I got a lot of stuff on that to-do list.
The thing is, also with comics now, the barrier to entry to making a comic is almost zero.
Nothing,
right?
Exactly.
It's almost zero, because any information that we're kind of giving you, we can talk through our experience, certainly, but any of the general information that we're giving you about how to make comics and do and publish and create and draw and write, Google. I mean, just start typing things into Google. How do I make comics? How do I make art? How do I paste a page? How do I? And all the information's there. So that's the other part of it for me is like, I'm waiting for the ones that have done that. And now they need to put all those pieces that they have together. And then I can, like I said, and that's when I can help you.
Well, I find my job to be, man, at the end of the day, is to bridge that gap between what you're saying and that kid who mom tells them that, you know, they got a good picture and whatever, right? Because what I try to do with those kids is shake them and sober them up first and foremost, right? So by the time they get to you, they know exactly they're going on and how it's going down, right? They know that, guess what, buddy? You this ain't where you going to make a ton of money right now. You know what I'm saying? I say, you know, because I try to explain the industry to them. Hey, look, this is the industry. This is why it's in the state it's in. You know, sorry about that. You know what I'm saying? But like you said, the separate the wheat from the chaff, and then the wheat comes to you at the end of the day. I just try to feel, like I said, I'm trying to fill that void so that you guys don't have, you know, kids with their moms in that one picture coming up to your table. Yep.
All right, cool. All right. Let's see if we can do it. Marvin, what's your question? It's still echoing, but that's okay.
Well, Mark stole my question. Mark stole my question, so I had to think of a quick one. So as we're nearing the end of the year, going into 2027, and convention season is kind of over after, say, October, like after New York. So for those last couple of months, do you take those months off? Do you push your online sales more? What do you do to keep your revenue moving towards the end of the year?
Mark, what do you got?
We got, like I said, you know, I do tons of seminars and tons of how-to panels, and again, that leads people right back to our table. And we got one big con. We got Motor City Con goes 2 times this year in here in Michigan, right? So it's the May con, and it's also the February con, right? I mean, not February, but in November con. So because it's the last con, you know, our sales tend to be pretty stable at that con, because anybody who wants to get anything new from us, and also we release new stuff. At the beginning of the year, we release new stuff near the end of the year, so they still get new stuff, pretty much.
All right, cool. Fred, what are you doing?
So element of that was kind of on my question, because I have a question about kind of how that plays out for a lot of you guys too. I'm interested, but for me, my plan for the rest of this year is to fulfill book 4 and do like another round of shows as I'm getting book 5 up and ready to go, and then I plan to have that up in October and use that time to as the holidays are coming and Kickstarter and things are less prominent, I hope to do another round of local shows and cons and whatever's going on here that I can do to get 4 and 5 out as they're ready, and take that time to regroup for 6 in the beginning of next year. I would like to actually work on setting up an online shop and figuring out how that works step by step, and that actually might be something to cultivate in December, and maybe that slower time. But right now my plan is to just kind of repeat the process I've been doing, and as we'll get to with my question, learn a bit about and try to be selective with shows and things like that and things that are going on, because I want to learn a little bit more about that. So that's how I plan to spend the end of the year.
Cool. Tom, what are you doing?
I mean, we're always selling. I sold weird shit today off of eBay. I was like, who the fuck bought this, and where did that sale come from? I don't advertise, I don't market, I don't do anything. I just put stuff up there, and all of a sudden I sold a Kaiju Epic book today. I'm like, okay, that's somebody found me and bought the book. So between that and the web store and I'm going to be getting back to doing my Facebook Live sales, which I haven't done in a long time, but we're going to be getting back to doing that. So there's really not an off period at all. The only advantage to not having shows is I have more time to focus on writing and
right.
Sort of trying to get ahead for next year so I can get scripts done so that when I am on the road, I don't have to worry about doing the writing and stuff like that. So it's all always business as usual over here kind of throughout the year. So it's really only, and I think I'm going to be doing Albuquerque this year. So that means my con season starts in January. We kick it off again. So yeah.
All right, cool. What do? I don't know.
Nothing. You don't do nothing. We know the answer. You don't do anything.
Hey, D, man, come on, bro.
Well, I mean, the thing is, for Kickstarter, there is no off season for me.
Right.
I do them all the time. I do them through the holidays.
You're going to launch one on Christmas Day this year, right?
Probably. I mean, but
Happy New Year.
Yeah, I've ran them through the New Year. I've ran them through Christmas. I've ran them through Thanksgiving. I just don't. When it comes down to Kickstarter, you just don't stop. But like I said, the artists, they demand on getting paid, so I gotta pay them. Right. So I don't slow down. The only other thing is, the online sales have been picking up. So that I found interesting. We occasionally, for a long time it died off because it just wasn't a focus. And even then, it's still not really a focus. We're still mostly but on occasion we do get that weirdo sale, and it's like, oh, where'd that come from? And then we fulfill. But I think it's just Kickstarter, so is it to keep that going? I only got 3 accounts. I got to keep them busy.
Yeah.
Well, and here's the other thing about Kickstarter: the myth of when you do it is just that. It's a myth. Right. People used to talk about you can't do it here, you can't do it there, you can't do it over holidays, you can't do it. It's all horseshit. Right. It's all in how you command your audience that you have, and work through. I've done stuff in every month across every holiday imaginable. I've done stuff in December crossing over. I've done 24 hours on New Year's Day. I did a 24-hour campaign on New Year's Day. It was great success. So it's all about how you rally your followers as to your success or failure through Kickstarter.
I'm gonna tell you something weird that happened. I'm still trying to figure it out. Anybody who does anime cons, man, knows that anime cons are pretty much about tchotchkes, prints, but they represent hardly no manga, right?
Mm-hmm.
But lately, man, we've been doing anime cons. Man, that's the convention. That's conventional wisdom, and I've seen this for about 15 years. We've been kind of dabbling in that anime con thing, right? But the last couple anime cons, man, we have been selling like gangbusters. And I can't put my finger on what changed and why we're selling now.
The same cons?
Same cons, yeah.
Okay, that's why. Because I had the same experience when I started doing Wizard of Oz cons. In the early going, people were like, what are you doing here? Like, what is this? And over a series of years, kept coming back. People were like, okay, you're here for a reason. Clearly, you're still here again. You're here for a reason. Tell me what you have, and let's talk about this stuff. So you've broken through the wall. You've broken through that why is this guy here wall. And so hopefully now you can maintain that momentum and push it forward.
Well, my thing is that it's like, again, I've talked to the guys who run the cons.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because a lot of them just didn't realize that I'm like, hey, man, this is an anime con, you know, that you guys got the prints and all other stuff from all these popular anime, but you know, you kind of treat the manga guys like bastard stepchildren, man. What's going on, brother? And they're like, oh man, we didn't know it was like that, man. You know, we're gonna try. And I think, you know, but the first thing I thought was maybe, you know, that they put in a little effort, right? But I don't know. I mean, I'm still, you know, I think that you're right that there was a breakthrough, but I'm also hoping that they kind of got my message too. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So it's kind of strange. And we also been selling well. Again, I'll say this to you. This is the first couple book cons we ever did, like book shows. Man, we've been selling out at them book shows. It's like, what in the hell? Crazy, man. Crazy.
Well, book people read.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, I found that out the hard way.
Yeah.
But look, they buy everything that looks like a graphic novel or a Tokuban manga or a shonen. They buying them up, man. It's like, wow.
Well, even when I put out, we put out our omnibus this year for Oz, and that changed the scope of our sales too. You know, people are looking at this gigantic book, going like, "What the hell?" Like, this is like a real book now instead of like floppies. Even trade paperbacks. Like trade paperbacks used to be like they would fly, but now I got people that are like, well, you can do an omnibus. I'm like, you can buy all four, like they're right here, like just glue them together if you want. Like the content is
they want that omnibus though, bro. You right, they want that omnibus.
Yeah. So you know, we got people excited about those.
The omnibus is real literature.
Apparently so. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Daphne once told me a story. This happened, I think, within the last 2 or 3 years, where a bunch of the editors from Japan came over to the U.S. looking for manga, right? American-made manga.
Mm-hmm.
And they went to one or two of the big anime conventions, and they said there was nothing. There was no one selling any manga. They were just selling prints and all this other stuff. Nothing of their own, nothing original, nothing they created.
Yep.
I mean, it's
crazy.
crazy.
The same thing.
Yeah, I remember I did a show a couple of years ago as a friend of mine. He does a show on the island. And we're in the artist alley. He invited us out. We came in, we set up or whatever. And I had one other, it was Mark Torres, who shows up, you know, was on here every now and again. He came up, he said, dude, you know, you're the only person in the artist alley actually selling comic books.
Tchotchkes, bro. Tchotchkes.
Yeah, you know, you had guys selling like freaking like ceramics that they make in their house. And I'm like, yeah, and I'm like, you know, with little dragon heads or whatever, or like, you know, some guys 3D printing some crap from something they downloaded online, you know?
Yep, exactly.
They were
Artist Alley just loaded up with people doing fan prints.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's crazy. Again, you know, that's what. It also goes back to the question I asked before, because again, you know, I think that because of the Marvels and the DCs and them not keeping up with, well, trying to follow the money. Every business is going to try to follow the money. Fine, okay, but you gotta invest. You gotta invest, man, in your future. You got to.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? We ain't gonna look. I look. I'm 56 years old. Guess what, buddy? I probably got 27, 30 years worth of comic buying left in me, if even that, because I won't be here. So at the end of the day, man, you know, it behooves them to think about those who will be here and how they're going to service them instead of servicing me. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And that's my real issue with, and that's the reason I asked that question, man. How we, so I should have asked it like this: how are we cultivating a new audience? That's what I should have asked.
Well, this is where Calderon says it doesn't matter because I'm going to be dead.
Oh yeah, okay, all right, okay. Colorado's like, welcome.
Listen, I'm only concerned about myself. All right.
Colorado's like, welcome.
Only concerned about myself. The future.
This whole show is just a sham to make him look good as the host. Like, he doesn't care about us.
You're not a secret boomer, are you?
No, I'm not. Firmly Generation X. Firmly Generation X. But did Marvin answer his own question? Did you answer your own question, Marvin?
I don't know. I mean, there might be still some echoes going on there.
No, I think you're better now. Oh no, this
No,
is.
I mean,
But it's funny when you start talking.
Marvin's echo is answering these questions now.
it says the echoes when I start talking.
Yeah,
No, it's when we talk.
No, it's talking. You stop talking.
Well, you guys stop talking then. Hush it. But I mean, I just want to like piggyback what Mark said about like with Marvel and things like that. Like I said, that you lost an entire generation, the millennials, on comics.
Mm-hmm.
So you're trying to capture Gen Z, who aren't really into American comics that much. They like the manga. So now you've lost kind of like a generation and a half that you're trying to recapture to come back into that stuff. And you look at the like how well the Spider-Man movie's going. That's Gen Z that did that. And it's kind of funny. I don't think it's really Spider-Man. I think it's Zendaya and Tom Holland that are driving.
It's 100% those two. It's 100%.
So it's like, and people are going, and they're going to be like, oh, now we can do this with other movies, and they're like, it's not going to work because they're not in all those movies.
No.
I mean, for the question I asked, like, I think that we do local comic shop day in the September, and that'll drive our retail stuff until the end of the year.
Right.
But most of the time, December is scripting. I do like a lot of my cleaning up and writing scripts in December because I work at a university, so I get a Christmas break. So I get that 2 days before Christmas up until New Year off. So that gives me time to sit around and try to do scripting, which I generally don't get done until like the last 2 days, but that has nothing to do with it. Because I sit there like, I should do some work today. I'm like, I don't feel like doing nothing today. So, and that just goes for days and days and days and days.
But the itis is done, huh, Marvin?
Right?
It's like, I like that last piece of turkey, now I can get to work.
I worked hard all year. I need a break. Yeah, so I mean, we'll see like what happens because I said that like local comic shop days coming up next month. We do that, and that gets us back into the good graces of retail for the rest of the year.
You know, it's funny because like Tom, you brought up a good point that I want to kind of move and get back on. Right, you're talking about how these kids, they read particular manga and whatever. And the thing, what I find the problem is that they think that shonen manga that they read is the only. It's like, man, do you know how many different flavors of manga there are? There's a manga for everything, dude. If you look, if you're a housewife, they got a manga for you. They got cooking manga. They got a gazillion freaking manga is their communication method. But they only these kids. And the thing is that's what they bring over here, right? Their manga dude that looks so photorealistic, it's not even funny. They don't bring that over here. It's all these, and the thing is that a lot of the great manga has already come over here. And so what they're bringing over here is junk manga.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, that's hilarious to me, right?
And that's the downside to manga is that it's all finite. Like with Spider-Man, it keeps going or gets reinvented. If you read Death Note runs and it's over and you're done and that's it. So either that reader of Death Note just reads Death Note for the rest of their life, or they have to go find something else. But when they do, they go and find something that is stylistically the same as Death Note. Even if it's not as good, they're at least moving into another thing. I was at a Barnes & Noble the other day killing time, and they had a huge manga section. So I just started like doing my own little bit of research and pulling books out and like, what is this and what does this one look like and so on. And that's when I really started to realize like, all this stuff looks the same.
Oh, they trim monkeys over there. Make no mistake.
Yeah. So if you read something and it was done, there's other things that look and are thematically the same. And you could just be like, well, I'm going to go here. I'm going to go here. And there's so much of it. Again, it doesn't matter if it's good or bad. It's just, that's just going to feed the need for what the manga kids have.
Sure.
So the real question is how do we divert them from manga over to something, American comics wise? And I think that's going to be difficult.
I think JD got the answer though. JD already answered that. And it's something that I noticed. You got so again, young women buy crap loads of manga, right? But what I find is that the indie comic stuff that honestly talks about some of their experiences, they buying the shit out of that too. You know what I mean? That's why they discovered American comics. Like it might be something like a Saga. It may be something like a Paper Girls or something like that. You know what I mean? And, and now a lot of them are starting to discover Hernandez brothers too, right? And those are the type of thing that make them take a second look at American comics. They're like, oh, I didn't know American comics had that. Let me see what else American comics got. And then I find that they're pleasantly surprised. So what I find.
So I think the solution, or if there is one, is probably going to be some kind of like hybridization where like eventually, American comics will probably try to adopt more of like a manga look or something.
We did that in the 90s.
Well,
yeah.
I think that they're going to get back there.
It was a big thing. Yeah. And that's what Absolute is. I mean, Wonder Woman's carrying around a Final Fantasy sword. I mean, they're trying to do that now even.
Well, you guys said about Brand New Day and how it was like, it might have been like Tom Holland and Zendaya bringing in, the audience and stuff. And I think a lot of like I saw a lot of stuff online. This Destin director guy that made this movie apparently brought in a lot of ideas intent on bringing in like a younger audience. Like, and I've seen a lot of this stuff. A lot of the ways he moves in this movie specifically are like the moves that were, I guess, adopted from the video games, because like this generation, is very like video game heavy. The way that we kind of like, I think movies went through this too. Movies lost a generation, kind of like over time as well. And the way that they, they get it back is by like trying new things and stuff. And this guy, like I said, he brought in a lot of like the video game movements. He invented this he brought in this new camera that they called like the Cyclops camera, where it was somebody in there getting attacked by the hand, and it gave you like a first person perspective, like, really it's never been done before. So I think that like, at least the way that like film has always done this, when film's gotten stale, is like a new generation of young people kind of come in and reinvent the wheel. It happened in the 70s with like Scorsese and Coppola and all those guys and stuff. It happened in the 90s with Tarantino and Linklater and like the indie generation and stuff. And we're getting it now with like Obsession and Backrooms and this Destin guy, Destin Creighton, I think his name is, who made Spider-Man Brand New Day and made Wonder Man, which I identified really hard with and stuff. So, I think there's going to be like equivalent to that in comics. And like, if you look at when Marvel did the Ultimate Verse and stuff, they gave Peach Momoko their own, like, her own a book that had like a style and a look that was completely different than any of the other comics going on at the time. So I think it's going to be like the talent that, have adopted the manga aesthetic, and then they're going to get a chance and they're going to bring it into our comics. And that may be, I don't mean our comics, but like mainstream comics and stuff, and that type of storytelling. And I think that might open doors to bring in the young generation, because it kind of happens organically.
But I think the problem though is that that's not necessarily sustainable. We saw it, like I said, we saw it in the 90s and it went away. So the idea would be, if let's say you did it and you brought a manga audience over, once that manga influence sort of leaves or dissipates, the question then is, are they locked into Spider-Man or Batman or Wonder Woman enough to stay there once the manga influence?
I don't read a lot of manga, but I will say that like in my limited, experience with manga, we're getting caught up on like the visual aesthetic of it and how different it looks than our comics and stuff. But one of the things that manga has and why they are so popular with comics here is like the Western mindset and like spiritualism and stuff that the young people in this generation absorb a lot more. So what?
You almost there. Keep going.
I'm saying it's like the thematic stuff. So what we need is like the the creative properties that are going to come in and drive that and necessitate that kind of storytelling and bring in that idea. So like it's not just you make Spider-Man look the way manga looks. You bring over those themes and stuff, and you create new characters that necessitate them. You don't try to figure out like a way to make like Eastern. You don't try to come up with like an Eastern philosophy on great power with great responsibility. You come up with a new character that embodies that and let that take over and stuff. Look,
Tom, you don't necessarily do superhero comics. You've branched away from doing just superhero comics, right? Well, I was thinking you was going, Fred.
I know what you're saying. Yeah.
Is this manga has a million different thematic lanes, right? American comics, for the most part, only has one thematic lane.
That's false. That's wildly false.
I'm talking about popularly.
Popular is different. Popular is different.
No, let's hold up.
That's what I'm saying. It's like even
it only has one thematic thing.
Even Keen Spot was publishing fucking fencing manga about 5 years ago. Like there is in American comics, there is anything that you could possibly want. There was a book about a guy going back in time, capturing dinosaurs so he could bring it back and sell it and cook it. Like it was a cooking show about cooking dinosaurs. There is everything that's available. The problem is that the market itself as sort of advertised and talked about really only talks about Marvel and DC, right? Those are sort of that they're called the big two for a reason.
That's right.
But Marvel and DC also, well, more Marvel. They were the ones that brought in that manga influence in the 90s, and it was monumentally successful. Joe Madureira and all these guys came in, and it was crazy. So it can be done to sort of bring manga, Eastern comics into what we do, but in a lot of cases it's already being done. It's just that these kids that are manga kids aren't going where that stuff exists, because when you go into a Barnes and Noble, like into the trade paperback section, it's just fucking Spider-Man and Batman and X-Men and Wolverine or whatever. So but if they knew that they could go into a comic store and see something besides Batman and Robin, that's how you start to shift them in. It's like, oh, there's more than that there. But again, that comes back to the marketing and advertising, which is zero in the comic book world for decades upon decades at this point. So, again, even if you were to bring it, and we've done things where even it's like the Peach Momoko thing was discussed. But if someone came in and bought that Peach Momoko and it ended, what are they doing now? Are they, I think it was a Psylocke book, right? So are they moving on to Psylocke regular American? No, they're like, well, it's done. I guess I'm out of here. So this is where we have sort of a problem with the crossover is if you bring the kids over that know this type of stuff, manga, whatever we want to call it, and it only lasts for a little while, you have to do something within that character to make them latch on and go, well, what other Psylocke is there? And from what I'm seeing, that's not happening. There's not a lot of like hopping from an entry point to something else. The only thing that's been working of late is Absolute, the entire line. Clearly, more specifically, the top three, obviously, but it's expanded to a point where everybody's like Absolute, Absolute, Absolute. However, Absolute is also riding the wave of collectability. It's not a matter of like we're selling 400,000 Batman books to 400,000 different people. It's monumentally, overridden with variant covers. I mean, there's like 150 variants on some of these issues. It's ridiculous. So even in that success, which I can't take away from it, it's working. Even in that success, it's still wrapped in the idea of variants and collectability versus manga, which is more storytelling, than what we're getting over here within what they're buying. Again, they're getting a gigantic book for $10 and so on. So that's why we have all of our books are now shrinking to be $10 so that they can sort of try to entice in. Hey, look, our books are the same size now, but the insides don't look like what they want. And comics are visual first. You got to be able to open it and go, fuck yeah, I want that, before you ever even read it. So I still think that there's going to be a problem with the crossover sort of over a long length. You might be able to get little drops of it, but over time I think it's going to be hard.
But I give DC a lot of credit because one thing. Oh, sorry, JD.
Wait a second, Fred. Hold on. I'm trying to help you out here. You got 10 minutes, bro. You got a question to ask.
We can. You know what? We can save it. We can skip it. We can stick with this. I mean, I wanted to get like serious information and shit, like about like that's probably boring. This is more fun because we're talking about shit people know and care about. Not how Fred's gonna make an extra buck next month. But I was gonna say no. I was gonna say I get. Yeah. Parker. He's all tuckered out now, and it's because I played that volley with him before we started.
He'll be back.
Okay, all right. I'll do my question real quick. 10 minutes, right? Let's see if we can handle this. With the we just got through like the San Diego Comic-Con, and obviously, it's a lot of fun to hear all the stuff that's going on, and see Tom's live stream and stuff. But I obviously I was left out, didn't justify it, right? So I guess my question is when you're starting out, how does growth work? How do you know that your growth is justifying the next step? So, all right, let me give you an example, and maybe this will clarify my question. So when I first did my first Kickstarter campaign, or whatever, I had like 2 books on my table, and I had like, I understood like what my basement, my ceiling was of each show and signing, right? I added stuff there, in my last campaign, and I noticed, oh my God, I'm able to do much better now. So now I'm at a point where I'm going to add another book that's got a lot more covers and stuff. So what I would like to know is, how do you, not get too crazy on the inventory, but also make sure that you have enough in stock? B, also understand that like, hey, it's moving in the right direction and it's working enough to justify the next con. And then I guess C is really like, how do you understand like which shows are worth your time and which ones are to pass yet? Because, I was looking for next month, and there are some shows that are like, a 2-day con for $300, and then there's like a 2-day con for $120, and there's like a 1-day con for $150. And I want to do the 1-day con because of somebody that's there or whatever. How do I know which one is, like, how do you weigh all that out? And also like, how closely do you monitor things like sales, inventory, and stuff like that, so you can make a really mathematically educated guess that you're like, okay, this con, whether it's like upgrading from like a single day to a 2-day to a travel, like this con makes sense now.
So I'm going to make this real sweet and to the point, especially for you, because I think this goes right to the point though.
Tom, wait real quick.
Yeah.
Fred, I said you had 10 minutes, not to ask the question in 10 minutes.
I'm sorry.
So for you, Fred, because you're new, we're coming back to, we keep saying like Fred's new. You're not going to know any of that without doing it.
Right.
That's the unfortunate problem. You're going to just get to take a couple of flyers and be like, okay, we tried that and we got this result. We tried that, we got this result. And then you can kind of start to make educated guesses down the line. But you're going to just have to kind of take some shots. And what I would recommend is stay as close to home as you can to start. That way you don't have hotel costs and stuff. You might have to drive 45 minutes to the show or something, but no hotel costs, and keep all that down. Stay as close to home as you can and just start incrementally moving yourself outward in order to get that new audience base. Like, I don't know, what state are you in?
Florida.
Oh, okay, Florida. So there's tons of cons in Florida.
Oh yeah, that's a big
and you can just sort of start to move yourself out a little bit, and do more and more and more. Florida's a great place to be able to do that. You got tons of cons.
Absolutely.
But just take, I would say, look at the con, see who's there. If there's a lot of comic people, that's where you want to start. If it's a lot of like voice actors and stuff, that's not where you want to start, because the attendee base is going for them and you're competing with them. Go somewhere as best as you possibly can to compete with comic book people and be engaged with comic book people versus movie stars and that kind of stuff.
And you guys said real quick, book book cons are really good for that. You said book cons you do well at.
Well, Marvin and Mark
like,
swear to it.
Well, the thing that is that too, we got competing. We put our stuff in book form. So like, you know, we got Shonen Jump size stuff, right? We got 70-page stuff like that. So with that stuff, we do real well at book cons.
Yeah, book fests and library shows, like whether it's trades or floppies, because those people want to read books and anything new they want.
Yeah.
Floppies are good too, Marvin.
Yeah.
Okay.
I never tried floppies though, Marvin. So thanks for telling me that.
especially if you can bundle them up. So like you know, I have like 12 books. So if you can throw those in a bundle, they will snatch them up.
That's the point I was getting at with the like my table.
Thanks, Marvin. Appreciate that.
Yeah, that's the point I was getting at with my table growing is like I've been able to see people when they're like, you know, all of a sudden you get like 2 people take a bundle and it like completely changes the complexion of your day. So
right.
But yeah, no, thank you, Tom. I was wondering about. So it is just trial and error. You guys aren't sitting home with a spreadsheet and you're like, okay, X amount here.
Yeah, but I have 16 years of spreadsheet.
Okay.
Yeah. So once you've done 4 or 5 shows, you'll get a sense of like where you belong within all of that. And then you can decide if you're going to go back or not, or expand out and go to a different, you know, location that might be better for comics or better for what type of thing you do.
Also, too, man, it's about making relationships too. At least from my end, I found that has helped me out more than anything. I might go to a con one year that's crappy as heck, but then I make some relationships with people and they start telling other people about the book. The next thing you know, they come back. I'm like, I brought you some more people. You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. Just making relationships is good too.
Yeah. Also, it's the other good thing is try to make creative relationships. If you can find a guy or two who are close to you, right, in the same vicinity, then maybe you might want, you know, you can talk about splitting a hotel, taking a drive together, doing that sort of thing. So then that way you're not like, you know, eating all those costs on your own because you know you can spread that out a little bit. That's
that I didn't think about. Yeah, I didn't as a way to branch out to the further ones. Yeah.
Right. If you have, you know, a couple buddies that are in the area, you know, you said you want to split a hotel room, you want to split the drive, you know, find out whose car has less mileage on it, whatever.
Yes, sir.
Exactly. So it all depends on how you work that out. I mean, you know, with myself and Daphne Daphne and I, so we're together and we're sitting there, you know, negotiating like, all right, well, what are we gonna do? You know, are we gonna split this table? We're gonna get 2 separate tables. Can we wamboozle, you know, this promoter into giving us a table? We buy
wamboozle.
Yeah,
that's a word.
Man. We like that word
right there.
Yeah, like that word. That's an old school word.
There you go. But sometimes, you know, you got to go in and you know, got to try to work it.
Yeah, sometimes you just got to take your lumps and just learn from it and be like, all right, that's not where I want to be, and then just mark that off of your spreadsheet and try a different one.
Right.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. All right, gentlemen, it's been fun. We made it to hour 2. Good job. You know, let's start with Marvin. Marvin, where can we find you in your work, sir?
You can find me wherever there are good echoing sounds. So the Grand Canyon.
The Grand Canyon?
Yeah, Grand Canyon.
He's going to start hanging Comicsburg banners at the Grand Canyon.
So it's always theedgecomic.com, comicsburg.com, Substack, and as I said earlier, tomorrow around 1 o'clock, announcement coming through the Substack about the Edge Volume 4.
All right, cool. Fred.
You can find me at Schwartz Art LLC on all the main socials, www.schwartzart-lc.com. And Fisticuffs books 1 through 4 is on Kickstarter for another 2 weeks. And real quick, I also forgot to mention earlier in the show, my first short story in an anthology is on Kickstarter right now. If you get a chance, nice. Vagabond Nowhere Man. It's Charlie McElvey's project. It's a great project. Cool. Stan and I team up again, and we do a Vlad the Impaler story. So check it out if you get a chance.
Nice. Yeah. Charlie's good dude.
Yeah, he's awesome. He's been really cool to me. And I loved working with them.
All right, cool. Mark.
You can find me at imaginosworkshop.com, shiningotaku.com, and judafistthecomicseries.com.
All right, cool. Tom.
BigDogInc.com. Get your books. We'll be launching the next Legend of Oz book in 2 weeks. And then I will be at Moreau Comic Con with CB Zane, and we'll be debuting the new Critter series artist. He'll be coming up from Texas hang out with us. So watch for our announcements there. Everybody at Monroe is going to get a free critter art print as well for coming in. And then I'll wrap up the year in Akron with CB Zane down in Ohio.
All right, very nice, very nice. All right, you can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all these different places. Most importantly, currently on Kickstarter with the Oswald Chronicles. And just remember, everybody, please check out the show notes. In the show notes are the links to all of these creators' projects. These creators are all doing great work. So please click on those links, buy those books, and just remember, read more indie comics, especially ours. Have a good night. Thank you.
Bye, guys.